Hi, I'm Jeff. This is Tropical Plants at 53 degrees north, and today we're going to have a look at my COELOGYNE cristata. I first did a video on this back in February of this year, and there was a few problems I was having with it. It was getting all sorts of like brown markings on the leaves, which I'll show you because they're still there. And just before we jump in, this over here is Streptocarpus Harlequin Blue. This one. This had the honour of winning RHS Plant of the Decade. Plant of the Decade, wow, what an accolade. Whether you agree with that or not, I don't know. Stick it in the comments if you have a choice of your own that you think should be Plant of the Decade. Maybe it's not a Streptocarpus, maybe it's an orchid, maybe it's a carnivorous plant, I don't know. But today is COELOGYNE cristata, so we're going to make a start on that now and have a look at it, talk about some of its care needs, how I can improve my cultural conditions for my COELOGYNE cristata, and if you stick around till the end we'll have a look at some new blooms too. See you on the other side. And we are in. So this is my COELOGYNE cristata. So I just want to show you now what was going on back in February. Can you see the browning on the leaves there? You can see it on all the old leaves, and I jumped on back in February when I was a relatively new YouTuber. I feel like I've been doing it forever, even though it's just over a year now, just over a year. I think it was beginning of November. And I jumped on and said, what's going on with this? And nobody really could say for sure. And what I did then was I repotted it, and as you can see I put it in totally bark and then some stones at the bottom for drainage because I believe they need to dry off quickly. And then I sprayed it as well. I sprayed it with a systemic insecticide, and I also sprayed it with a fungicide. So we hit it with everything. Now, has it worked? Well, we can see some nice new plump pseudo bulbs on it, not the ones that are shriveled. And you can also see on the newer leaves, nothing. The newer leaves are perfectly clear. So whether I've solved it through the various things that I did, I don't know, but it's clearly okay now. Still not bloomed for me, and I did come across a little bit of information that said when you repot them, they can take 2 or 3 years to rebloom. And what am I going to do now? I'm going to repot it again. And the reason is because this was never going to be the ideal pot for it. You may have seen my last video on my bulbophyllum Elizabeth Ann Buckleberry, and I will just lift you up and go and show you where that is at the moment. So that's over here at the moment in its new basket, and I know someone suggested, I think it was Mick, suggested it would be rather good to hang that because it does take up quite a lot of bench space there. So I'm going to see if I can get something together and hang it up, but at least it can go off in different directions now, whereas this one over here, this COELOGYNE cristata, has never been able to because of the relatively narrow diameter of the pot. So I'm going to unpot it and I'm going to put it in this basket, a similar mix to the bulbophyllum, not quite as mossy as the bulbophyllum. The bulbophyllum, I believe, needs to remain fairly damp, not wet, just fairly moist, and obviously lots of sphagnum moss is good for that. Whereas the COELOGYNE cristata cultural care needs, this needs to be pretty quick at drying out. So what I'm going to do is put it in mainly bark, some sphagnum moss at the bottom to stop the bark falling through, a little bit of perlite as well if I can manage to mix it up there without it falling through. As far as cultural conditions go, I think I've got it in just about the right spot. Certainly in terms of can I improve it, I don't think I can, other than to put it in a pot where it can spread, because what you don't want is these pseudo bulbs begin to root as they go along. Obviously if they're going off the sides, they're not going to do that, are they? It may not, it's not flowered yet. I think I had it from, when did we get it? Well, I've done a repot there, 13th of March 2018. So I've had it at least 2.5 years. I reckon I've had it longer than that, probably about 3 years by now. And it's never bloomed for me, but obviously it was a division, so the chances are likely that it was just too small. That initially I had it in the wrong conditions. I think I've got it in the right conditions now, as good as I can get it anyway. So let's just run through some of those conditions. Highlight, not direct sunlight. It's a cold to cool growing orchid. Temperatures in summer, it can go up to 18 degrees Celsius. Of course, it gets a lot warmer in here, unfortunately. I can't really cool it down much. I can normally get it from about 36 when it's all closed up down to about 30 degrees Celsius. But it's just a case of having to shade it. I can't really do anything about that. That's just the way it is, unless I go and buy a very expensive air conditioning unit, which I'm not inclined to do. It will take lows of 12 degrees Celsius at night in summer. Yeah, that I can do, that's fine. In winter, 11 to 13 degrees Celsius in the day, and it can go down to 2 to 4 degrees Celsius at night. Well, if it needs that cool, that extent of cold, then I can't do that unless I, stick it in the conservatory or stick it outside. My cooler side stays at 12 degrees, and if it's really cold outside, if it's below 12 outside, then it's going to stay at 12 permanently, and I can't get any kind of differential then, and that can be a problem. But we'll see. It's obviously put some growth on. I don't see why it won't flower if it's managed to put some nice plump shiny pseudo bulbs on. I think that's an indication that it will bloom for me at some point. Everybody says it's very easy, but people always say that with all sorts of plants. If you manage to grow it and it works well for you, then it's easy for you, isn't it? It's totally dependent on your conditions, of course. We can do things to a certain extent, but I think there are limits for all of us out there as to what we can do with our conditions. These are native to Eastern Himalayas and Vietnam. They grow on trees and rocks, so that tells you that they need to dry out at some point. They do need constant air movement. Now, I have a great big fan over in the cool side. It's not directly in front of the fan, but the fan is so powerful, I think it's getting that air movement. High humidity, 85% humidity in the season, 60 to 70% in winter. You need some kind of fast drying medium, bark, perlite, some sphagnum moss, which is what I'm going to put it in. And then we've said already, haven't we, that if you give it some root disturbance, repot it, then it's not 100% certain that it's going to bloom that year for you. You might miss a couple of years, in fact. And they do need a rest period. Again, I've seen various videos. I think it might have been one of Roger's videos where there was some kind of dissension over that, whether it does or whether it doesn't. The information I read said it does. So I'm going to try and give it a rest in as much as it's going to be cooler and it's going to get less water over winter. I mean, we do that anyway, don't we, for a lot of our orchids. The leaves on these older pseudobulbs will drop off at some point. That's just a natural thing, and it won't be a bad thing, will it, with this brown underneath? I'll be quite happy for that to happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to repot it, and then I'll show you the result. Okay, so I wasn't going to film the unpotting of it, but why not? So let's have a look, see what's going on. Hoping we've got some nice new roots under here. I would assume so, considering we've got the new growths. Don't tend to get growths without the roots. I put some limestone at the bottom, not for the lime, but just for the drainage, really. Nice big pseudo bulbs there, a little one that's being kind of squished against the pot, and this is the problem with it being in a pot, isn't it? They're quite shallow rooted, not quite as shallow rooted as the bulbophyllum, but these roots on the face of it don't look that brilliant. I'm just trying to have a close look. Yeah, it seems to be with these roots that I think they are mostly alive, but they look dead. They don't look like normal orchid roots. They don't look like, there's no green tips to anything. They do look quite brown, but plump. I don't know, could these be dead roots? And if you look where the new pseudo bulbs are, there doesn't seem to be anything coming off there. See, like there's a root there. It's not green, it's quite furry, quite fuzzy. I mean, this is different. That's got to be alive, but it's different to other orchid roots that I've seen. Maybe somebody can jump in the comments and tell me, is this what I'm supposed to be seeing? I I'm not inclined to cut them off just in case. I don't think these are dead. See, like that, you've got a little filament there in the middle. That normally tells you that that particular one's dead if you can see the filament running through the middle. I think I might have to just chop a few off and see what it looks like. No, I don't think these are alive. There's no green there whatsoever. I think that the living ones seem to be these like furry ones. They're the ones near the new pseudobulbs. See, like you've got a bit of green there. Okay, so that one's alive. But I think a lot of these in the middle, I think they're gone. In for a penny. Somebody's probably sitting there now going, "What are you doing? You're cutting all the live roots off." No, I don't think I am. Maybe it'll stimulate some new root growth. These are not living roots. You can see there's no green there whatsoever. Just have to look out for those fuzzy ones like that. Just for the sake of argument, let's chop a fuzzy one. Still hard to tell. It could well be that once we get rid of these, that we get some nice new root growth. So I've just cut that. I've cut the only one that had a little bit of green in it. Well, like I say, it's not bloomed. It's grown. It's grown new pseudobulbs. It's grown new leaves. It's clearly got all it needs, and if it grows on rocks as well, and it's got all it needs really in those pseudobulbs. But it would be nice to have some roots. I mean, clearly it can grow roots, can't it? So that is what we're left with. Leave that one on. And that is going to go pretty much placed like that on there. Okay, so I'll mix up some, get rid of this first. I'll mix up some new bark, a little bit of sphagnum at the bottom, and a little bit of perlite if I can hold on to the perlite amongst all that stuff. And then we'll take you through the next step. Okay, so we've got some sphagnum moss, that's all I've got left. I've ordered some more, but it's taking rather a while to come. I've just dumped a pile of probably medium bark. That it's not really chunky bark, is it? Like Ed has some really chunky stuff, and I've put some perlite in there as well. Whether it'll all just fall through to the bottom of the tray, I don't know. We'll see. So the thing for me to do, if I can, I don't know if I've got enough really, is to try and line the bottom so that it doesn't all fall through. There isn't enough really, but we'll just have to see how that does. See, already you can see the perlite's just fallen through to the bottom, through the cracks. Get it in there and see whether it retains it. I might have to do this again, but frankly it's no big deal. I've ordered some perlite, some sphagnum moss, so when that comes I might have to do it again. But for now, hopefully it will do the job. At least it'll be in something, won't it? So that's pretty free draining, and there's a little bit of water retention as well. And it's difficult to get your head around that, isn't it, for things like perlite? I mean, obviously it's easy to spot that sphagnum moss holds onto water and dries out pretty quickly, but perlite kind of does everything. It's kind of like a miraculous material because it causes, or it gives some aeration to it. It allows water to pass through, but it also holds onto some as well. Water retentive but well draining. Ta-da, there you go. That was the quickest potting up, wasn't it? Well, basically that's all I'm going to do. I might kind of just shove it down a little bit and try and get some of these, what's left of the roots, a little bit underneath. But this is what Now this is the way it's going to go, so that it can spread out there. So I may well, I mean, looking at this now, you can see stuff beginning to fall out. When I get my sphagnum moss, when that arrives, I will do this again and lift it up a little bit so that there's a little bit more under there, to stop it all falling through the holes. Well, that's basically it. That's the plan. And I may well put this, hang it from the rafters, because it takes up rather a lot of bench room, doesn't it? So yeah, there we go, COELOGYNE cristata, and that's the pot that it's going to be in now, in this basket, and hopefully it'll enjoy life a little bit better there. And also, hopefully, while it's having its dry winter rest, it'll put a few roots out as well, now that it's kind of breathing a sigh of relief and it's not compact and contained in that little pot. So before we go, we're going to have a look at some blooms. I promised you that at the beginning of the video, so let's have a look at what's going on in the greenhouse right now. Okay, so we're in the warm side here, and this is, I'm renaming this Paradise Corner because we've got everything going on in here. We've got the Epicatleya, I always try and remember this as best I can. Epicatleya crossed with, no, hang on, I've forgotten it already. Epicatleya crossed with Laleocatleya, no, that's not it. Epicatleya Janet Sparkle crossed with Laleocatleya Volcano Trick. Kaboom! I think I've done it. Let's just check the label. Did I get that the right way around? No, I didn't. I got it the wrong way around. Epicatleya Volcano Trick crossed with Laleocatleya Janet Sparkle. Darn it. I should edit that out, shouldn't I? No, I'll leave it in. Oh, you know what an idiot I can be. Right, okay, so that's that. We've got another one coming there, another one coming there, another one coming there. This plant is crazy, and I have chopped some roots off, believe it or not, some live roots. That's the first time I've ever done that with orchids, just to get it into this pot. I haven't repotted it. I've just literally chopped all those roots that were kind of growing down the side so that I could put the transparent pot in there. So that's a pot in a pot, just to stop it falling over, basically. Somebody, I think it was Laura, suggested, if it's so happy, leave it, don't repot it. So that's what I've done. I've just kind of put it in there, and it's a good idea, really, isn't it? Why make work for myself? Couple of phals, no ID phals, and of course the wonderful Zygopetalum in the corner there. It doesn't have any name other than Zygopetalum, so if anybody knows if this is a specific cultivar, they know a name of it, that'll be useful, because I do like to see exactly what it is that I've got. And there's tons more to come there. I think we've cracked that. Zygopetalum culture, we've cracked it. This is third time this has bloomed for me. It seems to be a really good doer, as they say in the gardening world over here. I did burn some of the leaves, but they've dropped off now. That's come back. That's really nice. What else have we got over here? That's going over. That's looking nice now. I've moved that there, of course. As always, the Mandevilla looking great. My 3 new Tolumnias. That one is just opened a new one, or is that the same one? No, it could be the same one. What else have we got going on? Still got the Bialara, Purple Princess. That's not bloomed yet, but we have a spike on the Miltoniopsis. Look how much that's come on since. Wow. I can happily say now I can grow Miltoniopsis. You've seen the bulbophyllum there, you've seen this cymbidium. That's even longer name than the Volcano Janet Sparkly Trick thing. Over here, my Tradescantia Silamontana, the leaves yellowed. It was over in the cooler side, so I chopped them off, and here we go. We've got some new ones coming. I think it was just too cold and too humid for them. Quick look over through to the warmer side. See what's going on here. That one's really going for it now. It's going a bit crazy. And of course everybody wants to see the Brugmansia, don't they? So Brugmansia smells really nice at this particular moment. Best time to smell it is on an evening, just as it's going dusk. I'll get a bit worried when Fudge comes in here, because he eats everything he sees, and these are quite poisonous, I believe. But yeah, it's all right. I'm glad I've not got rid of it anyway. I know it'll drop all these leaves as time goes on. Lots and lots of Streptocarpus, Streptocarpi, you would think, wouldn't you? over there. My pretty new twinkle yellow, as it was named on the website. Now, whether that's what it actually is, or they've just thought, well, it's yellow, let's call it yellow. But tons more blooms to come on that one. If anybody knows why is my epidendrum, why is it dropping all its leaves? There's still a few blooms hanging onto it, but look at it. It's looking awful. Like, all these leaves keep dropping off. That's never happened to me. I've had it a few years. It's never done that before. Boragera, looking fabulous. This spike, look how it's kind of bent over like that. Don't know why that is. I haven't sprayed it with anything, so I'm not really quite sure, and it's quite firmly pointing down to the floor. That seems to be what it wants to do. But that colour is lovely, and it does have a really nice scent to it as well. Cyclamen persicum, all looking fabulous. We've got, can't remember what they're called. So this one is, it did have a label on it, and it hasn't anymore. Oh, it's come off. I don't know what that is. I've got it somewhere. I'll have to look that one up. That one's just something like Cyclamen persicum red. Yeah, that's looking nice. These still, oops, I've just caught my puffy pedalum. So these are just making loads and loads and loads of new blooms still, but they're getting smaller as it gets further away from the main plant. Cherry baby, looking good. That one's just caught there. There we go. It does seem to be dropping the blooms now on the first spike of the cherry baby, but with another spike coming over here. Cambria still looking nice. I'm just waiting patiently or impatiently for my Oncidium sotoanum. I've got loads of spikes on it now. This is going to be a much better blooming than last year, thankfully. I did notice that it started getting some sooty mould on it. Now, I looked really closely. There are no bugs anywhere near it. I think it's just literally, it's cold and it's damp and it's highly humid, and that seems to have caused a sooty mould. And it did come off when I rubbed it, but it's caused a few problems with the leaves there. And Pelargonium's just coming out one that's got loads of buds on it now. They're supposed to be having a rest now, but obviously nobody's told that one. The Bougainvillea, dropping its leaves. You go on the RHS website and it says it's evergreen, but look at other websites and it says if temperatures drops its leaves. Now, as we know, this is up to 12 degrees Celsius, so I would expect anything below 15, that's where it drops. The other twinkle over here, this was a cinnamon one. That's going to do a nice mass blooming for me. And just before I go, I will show you, let me see, oh yeah, the two dendrobiums that I bought for my wedding anniversary are now, well, I was going to say about T, but I won't say that because I don't want to get struck off the YouTube register. They apparently were the wrong way round. So I've seen dendrobiums hanging that way around, and I have got a picture actually of it growing in the wild, where like most of them are growing upwards, but some of them have gone over and started hanging down. But I guess the roots were still this way around. So I basically just swapped over the wire. I put a hole in the other side and swapped it over. I've got a really long wire for that one to hold it down. It's going to be ages before they bloom anyway. Somebody said I should cut these off as well. I haven't done yet, but I'll leave them a bit longer. But I think really I need to see some new growth before I begin to cut them off. So that was the Dentiflorum and the Thursiflorum, which is over there. We talked about in comments feeding these things, these Phlebodiums, and I haven't done up until now, and you know what, as soon as I've fed it, within a couple of weeks it's already looking way better. Now that could be because we're now in a shadier time of the year. The sun's dropped behind my garage and it doesn't get any sun now, so maybe that's it. I know I've done the same with the other one, not really noticed a difference with that one. This one I have. This one's put new growth on very quickly. I was going to show you my Adenium obesum over here. It was in the cold side, but you could see the leaves have started to go yellow, and I think it was Todd told me that once it drops below 15 all the leaves drop off. He had a picture of his full of blooms but no leaves on it. I'd be happy for that, and I've got loads of little kind of bud things happening, but they just kind of stalled. whether it was the weather that stalled them. Yeah, look, oh no, they're blasting. Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? It did warm me, but you know, I can't do anything about it now. So maybe this is one to move over into the warm side when it comes round to winter time, to autumn and winter time. So anyway, that's it for now. Just a very brief look around things that's going on at the moment. If there's anything anybody would like to see, anything anybody would like videos on, stick it in the comments for me. If you just want to say hello, I love to hear from people. It all helps. And for now, I'll see you on the next one. Bye.